Hi, I'm Sean. Today I'm going to talk about Nafta and why the U.S. should withdraw from the agreement. The North American Free Trade Agreement is an agreement signed by Canada, Mexico, and the United States, creating a trade bloc in North America. The agreement was signed January 1st, 1994. This agreement opened the door for free open trade, ending tariffs on various goods and services, and attempted to implement equality between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Nafta has allowed agricultural goods such as eggs, corn, meats, and to be tariff-free. This allowed corporations to trade freely and import and export various goods on a North American scale. Public officials and economists frequently claim that trade agreements create more high-paying jobs for American workers. Trade is supposed to move workers from low-productivity, low-wage jobs into high-productivity export jobs with better wages. But the exact opposite has been true for U.S. trade with Mexico since the North American Free Trade Agreement took effect in 1994. In the United States workforce, NAFTA has contributed to the reduction of employment in high-wage traded goods industries, the growing inequality of wages, and the steadily declining demand for workers without a college education. According to economist Robert Scott, growing trade deficits with Mexico and Canada have displaced production that roughly supported 1 million U.S. jobs since the agreement took effect. On average, 40,000 jobs have been lost or displaced per year since 1994. NAFTA has also contributed to growing income inequality and to the decline in relative wages of U.S. workers without college degrees, who made up 72% of the workforce in 2001. Trade has always created and destroyed jobs. Increase in U.S. exports tend to create jobs in this country, but increases in imports tend to reduce jobs because the imports displace goods that otherwise would have been made in the United States by domestic workers. According to the Economic Policy Institute, U.S. exports to Mexico in 2010 supported over 791,000 jobs, but U.S. imports displaced production that would have supported 1.4 million jobs. All 50 states, including the District of Columbia, have experienced a net loss of jobs under NAFTA, with California, Texas, and Michigan having the most net loss in jobs. The trade deficit with Mexico pushed workers out of traded goods industries into lower-paying non-traded goods industries. The displacement of jobs from traded to non-traded goods industries reduced payments to U.S. workers by $7.6 billion in 2004 alone. NAFTA also made Mexico a prime location to invest and outsource U.S. manufacturing production. Under NAFTA, the vast majority of investments into Mexico were maquiladora factories. These were export-oriented manufacturing and assembly plants that return profits to the U.S. and do not promote direct economic development within Mexico. U.S. corporations can set up factories in Mexico, hire workers that will work for less money and lesser working conditions, and export the products back to the U.S. tariff-free. The ability of firms to more easily relocate from the U.S. to Mexico that offers cheaper labor and less resistance from workers with respect to employment conditions and benefits, etc., has also ultimately resulted in American workers settling for lower pay and fewer benefits just in order to keep their jobs. According to economist Kevin Gallagher, over 2,700 maquiladoras were constructed along the already environmentally strained and overpopulated border between Mexico and the United States, which displaced hundreds of thousands of American jobs. Under NAFTA, the U.S. was able to take advantage of agricultural dumping. Dumping is pricing exports below the cost of production. The U.S. subsidizes American agribusiness, where then export dumping products into Mexico, which is destroying the Mexican agriculture market. According to Policy Research Director Timothy Wise, losses for agricultural products such as beef, corn, wheat, cotton, rice, and pork totaled $12.8 billion for Mexican farmers as a result of the export dumping. According to Public Citizen, Mexico has lost 1.3 million jobs in the agricultural sector as a result of the flood of cheap, subsidized corn from the United States after corn tariffs were liberalized shortly after NAFTA took effect. NAFTA has also had an impact on the environment within North America. NAFTA-related environmental threats occurred in areas where government environmental policy, infrastructure, or mechanisms were unprepared for the increasing scale of production under new trading laws. In many cases, environmental policy was simply neglected in the wake of trade liberalization, especially in Mexico. According to Public Citizen, total environmental inspections in Mexico plummeted by 45% after 1993, and inspections of the Maquiladora zone increased by 37%, or decreased by 37%. Despite an anticipated rise in pollution levels, NAFTA did nothing to strengthen Mexico's environmental protections. Enforcement of environmental protections declined noticeably after NAFTA and is often ignored by both corporations and the Mexican government. Toxins created by the maquiladora factories are leaking into the land and water at alarming rates. According to Mexican government figures, the cost of NAFTA-related environmental damage in 2000 alone was an estimated $47 billion. This damage dwarfs the value of economic growth from trade, which was only $14 billion that year. NAFTA also included a dispute settlement process in Chapter 11 of the agreement, which was on investment, that for the first time allowed corporations to sue governments for takings or loss of potential profits as a result of new government regulations. NAFTA's measures for investment protection, such as Chapter 11, as I mentioned before, and measures against non-tariff trade barriers, threaten to discourage more vigorous environmental policy. So, for example, if an American corporation wanted to set up a factory in Mexico, but environmental laws prohibited it, the corporation could sue the Mexican government for the loss of potential profits they could have had. According to Public Citizen, the dispute settlement process has had a number of unintended consequences and has resulted in at least 88 suits and $327 million of settlements paid for foreign investors by governments in the region. The North American countries could resort to a trade agreement similar to that of the European Union, with a common external tariff and a majority of member states with the same currency. This keeps trade competitive, but also promoting economic growth in participating countries. The U.S. should withdraw from the NAFTA agreement so that jobs are saved, Mexico isn't being taken advantage of, and the environment safety is not being jeopardized. Thank you.